tank, but I don't see the individual in the room, so I'm not sure if he's going to do it. He might be bailing out. Let's see. Is he going to come up? I don't see him. Do you see him, Pocket?
Yeah, I was just looking too. Do you want me to DM him?
Yeah, would you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, while you're doing that, we'll give him like 3 minutes and I'll just start reengineering the day because that's what we're here for. If you're joining and you're expecting the reengineering, like this is the last part of the boot camp, is pitching your business idea. And essentially it's you making a contract, improving to yourself and not sure building that confidence that this is what you're going to do with your money, right? And defining all the decisions around it, defining I don't see him. Every aspect of it, because at the end of the day, nobody cares if you make money or the greatest trader on earth. Only you, your wife, and your ex-wife. And like that's why, and we also know that like you're only as good of a trader as what you can do behind closed doors when nobody can see you and it's you and you only pressing the button, right? And to get you in the compounding zone, like that's why I don't try to push strategies onto you guys. I'll show you different strategies. I'll show you. Whoa. I'll show you. Oh, he's there. Cool. I'll show you like different strategies that you can turn on and off in different market environments and volatility conditions. But at the end of the day, like I know it all comes down to what is that aha moment that you have wired in your brain. That will be the confidence that you need to be disciplined every single day, right? Win loss, consecutive drawdown, max loss. So the last part of the boot camp is the wolf tank, right? And so the traders come up and they pitch their ideas to us of what the contract that they're making with themselves is going to be and what those decisions that, because like I say, every decision should already be identified and when you press the buy or sell button, right? You shouldn't be making decisions of what you're going to do when you're actually in the trade, because then it's a little bit too late. So with that being said, graduation is on Friday, 1500, not 1600, so an hour behind. Squad leaders, I need you guys to go in and identify the MVP for your day of the week teams. Me and Austin, me and you need to still identify runner up and honor grad, and then like me, you, and Pocket need to schedule a time to jump on a call and do rehearsal and do the script. And then last thing is, if you're going to be a squad leader for this next boot camp, right, you need to reach out to Pocket right now. If you were a squad leader and want to continue, reach out, and then Pocket, you need to get on my schedule now that you have my calendar and tell me when I show up for the interviews. All right.
Either.
So lots going on. Saturday morning, we start the new boot camp. The new boot camp at 05:30. This will be the only class that I do on a weekend, right? And it'll go from 5:30 to about 9:30, right? So be prepared for that. Don't sleep in. Like this is the one Saturday you need to get up and start. And we'll talk about all that on day 0. All right, Austin, Pocket, what do you got?
You've already done all the stuff I needed, so I just needed I think we've got most of the people anyways, and I will follow up with a few individuals just to make sure for the squad leaders. Other than that, this week I did say I'm kind of not doing the 12 o'clock thing because I'm going to be working on the boot camp, and then we'll start back up as soon as the boot camp starts up, and I'll start doing my Monday or my afternoon sessions, and it'll mostly be geared around just the learning that happened that week and not really trading for now as we go through the boot camp from scratch again.
Yeah, man, we got to get the flow right. Last class we had 2 weeks off, and that was too long. And this week we don't even have a day off. So actually, we're fixing that right now.
Yes.
Austin, you got anything?
Yeah, I got. So for you guys in the pack, I just did a ping to everybody so that way we can capture as many people in the community as possible. But I want to do this more. I've done this kind of like off the hip. I've done a lot. Yeah, I think around six, plus or minus 1 or 2, where people just hit me up and I was like, hey, I don't want to talk about you. I can't do one-on-ones. I'm not licensed to do it. I'm not any of that, right? But I also don't like doing one-on-ones because a lot of other people could get value from the conversation. So anytime people have DM me in the past, I'm just like, hey, dude, let's hop in a voice chat in the pack, and anybody that's available, I can ping everybody, and we can just literally talk about it, right then and there. So I want to do that more, but I want to do it more with intention and more regularity, not just impromptu. So if you guys want to get on my schedule, and it's kind of like, think of it like this: you guys go to the Wolf Tank, right? As soon as you graduate, just briefing your raw plan. But Cody demonstrated this very well, that when you guys graduate, your trade plans can be vastly different in a couple months than they do, because you learn more, you adapt, you evolve, you get better at just sticking to one thing, and you find the nuances of what's good and bad. So it's dynamic. So, when you guys join the pack, I want that to be continued. I don't just want it to be, a one-time thing that just gets put down the drain. So think of this like a one level deeper into the granularity of how you're trading, where it's pure technical, right? We're not talking about psychology. We're not talking about the basics. We are going and saying, okay, now that we understand your plan, you can brief into the pack like exactly what you're doing, and we'll pick apart whatever your struggle points are. So like, for instance, Stacks, he's up here. He's going to be booking a call when he gets back at the end of the month within the pack, and it's just going to be his main focal points that he needs to focus on, which is what him and I both know, and you guys will find out later. So that's just going to be kind of a thing where I want to make this like a week, if not a bi-weekly thing, where anybody in the pack that maybe you feel like you're still a little behind, or you're struggling, or going through a period, whatever the heck you need, that you just want people to poke holes into your plan or see where you can do better, just submit a ticket, go into the pack chat. I pinged everybody. Just click that support ticket button, book a time with me, and I want to make it like a weekly thing. And in the Army, we called it, there was this once a week thing we would do. It's called Sergeant's Time Training. And it would just be one task out of, God, what, Mickey? Hundreds of
Oh my
tasks
gosh.
of just
Yeah.
all these little subtasks. And what we would do is we would make sure that we as NCOs, we're taking care of our soldiers by just teaching a simple soldier task that's like a basic task. And so we did that each week.
It always had to go with the medal, though. The mission essential
Exactly.
task list, which tied into something bigger. So it's not like we're just randomly teaching dumb shit. Like,
Yeah, it's
never
what
mind.
your company needed to stay up to standard with whatever your goals were for whatever you was for within the battalion. So here, it's your whole goal is your business plan, and so we could do a quote unquote sergeant's time training where we just sit aside an hour. You brief what you're really good at, what your plan is, and then we find the holes that we can do to just kind of bridge the gap. So that's my announcement. If you are in the pack and you've already graduated, you're about to graduate, please use this as an opportunity. Like I said in the chat, I don't want the pack trade group just to be, obviously the main focal point is we trade live and execute live, and we are now doing it around the clock. But the other main point is I want it to be a collective mastermind where if you guys need help, you have an extremely targeted community. We not only are just everybody traders, but we're traders that are using the same statistics, same tools, and we're speaking the same language. So it's you use it to your benefit, and that's all I got.
Absolutely. So with that being said, right, we also understand that, like, listen, like, you just graduated the boot camp, came out of phase 2, you learned about a lot of money management stuff that you've never even heard before, much less even considered making a business plan on. We know that, like, this first business plan definitely more, because, like, this is what we saw with Cody and a lot of the people is like they rush to build their business plan because they know it's the right thing to do. But then when they go to execute in the live market, they're like, oh, I need to adjust this because it looked good on paper. Just like every operation we did in the Army, it briefed well in the op order. The first moment a bullet flew, it was like the plane went out the window, and like we had to adapt and overcome and improvise, right? So we understand that. And like if you get down the road and you realize that like you've adjusted and want to always come, you always have the right to come rebrief, right? And that's kind of like what this is for. All right. So with that being said, Stacks is an outstanding individual. How you doing, Stacks? I'll let you share screen.
I'm good, Cap. I'm actually in the car. No, I won't share screen, but it's just a conversation, really, as I said.
All right.
So in essence,
All right, real
I'm not an
quick,
ignoramus.
slow down. Before you start proving your plan, how was the boot camp? How'd it go? What'd you think of it? What
Out
did
of
you
this
learn?
world.
What aha moments?
It was out of this world, as I think a lot of people can vouch for. The difference that I found here was it was very relatable, and I was actually able to see the guys that are teaching me doing what they're teaching, rather than just blowing smoke off somebody's ass and just saying this is the way to do it, and not actually being able to practically exemplify that. The confidence booster here was that every single thing that we're being told is actually being implemented every single day, and then it's being reviewed every single day just to drill it down even further. So it just gives you that extra layer of confidence and added ability to understand how you should be using the tools you're being given.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing, because we've all fallen for the smoke and mirrors and all that silliness, and like we wanted to show what it would look like every day if we do it every day, and then live trade it, show the accounts, show everything, win or loss, like that. When me and Austin sat down, like that was the one thing that we agreed on 1000%, like transparency, honesty, and intent and angle. Like you'll always know my intent and angle. You'll always see the transparency and honesty that I bring. And you get to see me and Austin just take it on the chin or bulldoze through life, because that's how you get the confidence to do it yourself. Was there anything that like we talked about in the boot camp that you've never heard before, or this phase 2, or stuff that like really like opened your eyes?
I never understood from like 4 or 5 years in trading of partialing out, because I always saw it as, why am I leaving money on the table? But when you kind of explain it with the dump pouch and how it increasingly compounds your profits and protects your downside, I really understood that. I think everybody, as Ike was also mentioning in the chat today, everybody wants a great trade, a great looking trade with 10, 12, 15, 25, 30 R, but those are very hard to come by. So realistically, you're better off looking for the low-hanging fruit, highest probability target, and protecting your downside, because that's what's going to keep you profitable.
Yeah. I mean, like today was a DWP style day, and we called it on the live stream. And we know that like the condition was there, right? But like these days, we know the difference between a range 1 and a DWP, and we know it's not always, and we knew. And that's why it's important to understand how to cover the queen and all that, right? Like, so absolutely. What about understanding which models to turn on and off based off of the market environment, and knowing how to actually grade a model, a trade model, to survive and sustain through time, right? Was that eye-opening? I know that's the worst exercise for everybody, but was that the most eye-opening exercise? There's not just edge lane everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really understand that until literally maybe this week or week before. I understood the classification of the models because you taught that in the boot camp. But in terms of turning it on and off and then being patient with it, I understood that when I took a few of the wrong trades and made some losses this week and last week, in that I should have just waited for the 930 to print. And then that would have given me an indication of whether it was going to be an explosive move out or whether it was going to range. And I just had to wait and just see what happens after 9:45, 10 o'clock-ish. So I understood that aspect of it by live execution. And I thought if I had just waited, it would have kind of shown me what it was doing, and then I could have stayed out the trade.
Yep. Okay, cool. So kind of going into like your presentation, this is where I'll let you pick up, and I guess I'll control the string. I imagine that you have data for this, like everything that you've done. So I look forward to seeing that. If you don't have data, then you're at the phase where it's like, this is the concept that I want to prove to myself that it actually works. Where are you at with that?
I need to collect the data. So as I said, I understood everything within the boot camp, and I understand the principles of it. I'm not a genius with computer collection of data, coding, AI, all that type of stuff. If you tell me what to do, I'll do it. That's my strength.
All right, good stuff. Then that's what we'll do, because like we got to understand, like I was talking to an options market maker today, and he's retired. And I was showing him what we do here, and like he was telling me, like when it comes to retail, like you got to understand, you got to meet them where they're at, right? And then you have to build them up, right? And so, like right where you're at, right here, right now, is that you have concepts, which like those concepts, right? You need to convince yourself. And that's where that confidence comes from, because like as well as I do, you've been in multiple strategies that are going through consecutive losses, and that will make you jump ship faster than anything if you don't have the confidence of how that strategy operates, right? If you don't have those numbers of, oh, this is just normal consecutive losses, like let me see it through, right? So it sounds like you're at the point where you're building the proof of concept. And just a huge shout out to Stacks, because like I told him, like I want you to brief, right? I don't care where you're at. You're gonna show up and you're gonna brief, and today was the day, right? And because I want to see him succeed, right? So like where you're at is your proof of concept right now. All right. So do you want to walk through what you're gonna do?
Yeah, so I've decided that the easiest thing for me to start with in terms of getting reps in is just trading the 930 breakout.
Okay.
That'll be easiest for me to kind of, number one, plan around. So I'm still doing the wargaming in the morning. I'm going through candle science on the daily. I'm going through the daily profiler, waiting for 930, and then seeing where we are above or below levels, and then just literally targeting 0.1% as the initial trade. And then what I will do with that is, once I've done enough of that and gain my confidence with the execution, then see how I could kind of reach then for extended cash flows or bigger hits just off that initial breakout.
Yeah. So definitely one thing that I would do for you is I'll send you an Excel spreadsheet, right? Because like you're taking a linear approach in a dynamic market, right? And we know that leads to ultimate collapse, right? Now, if you do what some people do, they take 5 basis points off the 930 breakout, that can happen. I would say like anything above 5 basis points, right, is like you need to start some kind of process of dynamic thinking, right? So what you're saying is, this is the 930 candle. We'll just look at today, right? Your risk is, where would your stop be? Where's your risk at?
Well, initially I'd try to go other side of the candle, depending on how big it is. But I know I need to collect data for that.
Yeah.
So initial concept would be other side of the 930.
Okay, other side of the 930. Now, what did you said depends on how big it is? What does that control, right? Remember, I make levers to understand what controls what. So if this is a really big 930 range, this is 80 handles, right? So with that being said, if you're going to still take this trade, what is it controlling that is bigger versus if it's smaller, right? Let's say it's a typical 15 basis points or below 930 range. Like, what is that controlling?
The amount of risk I put on.
Yes, the risk per trade, right? I mean, not the risk per trade, the amount of contracts.
Yeah.
All right. Remember, one of the first classes I taught you was the difference between fixed position size and then risk per trade, and ultimately why risk per trade is better and why you can stack heavier amounts of contracts risking the same amount. Your stop can be different. So this one can be 5 basis points. This one can be 31. You still risk $225 on a $4,500 account, right? The difference is how many contracts you're in each one. This one you're going to be in 13. This one you're going to be in 2, right? So, all right, what's the next step? You just target 10 basis points?
Literally for now, yeah, that was my plan.
All right. So there's that, right? So if you use this as a fixed position size, then this cost will be different every single day. Every single day, whether you get stopped out or not, like your position size, your expense portion of it will be completely different, which means you have an open stop, which means you cannot control your P&L. You cannot control the volatility of your P&L, right? What does that ultimately lead to over time? Especially when you go through max consecutive
risk of ruin
losses, risk of ruin, right?
Yeah.
So make sure when you go collect that data, and I'll pass it off to Austin real quick, that you're incorporating that aspect, right? Austin?
Yeah, you said 10 basis points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's where exactly what Mickey was saying, like think dynamic, not linear. So when you're pulling data, this is something I think it was Jihan. I don't know if you're here, but this is something we talked about last week too. Is when you guys are using spreadsheets and you're building data, remember, we're not using those spreadsheets and we're not building data for the strategy. We're doing that to see, just like if I want to see what, the range of a weapon, or if I want to see the miles per gallon of a car, right? It's going to be a range. If you go to look up, hey, what's the miles per gallon of a Kia Forte, because you're looking for just an economic car, it's not just going to say 22. What's it going to say? It's going to say 22 city, 30 highway. And obviously, in between that range is plus or minus how that car is going to function. Obviously, you're going down a hill, you're probably getting 77 miles per gallon, right? But the instant you go back up the hill, you're going to be, so you fluctuate and then you fall back to the mean. It's the same thing when you guys are building data. You're trying to find through just an objective statistic that plus or minus, this is the range of accuracy of the move that I'm trying to capture. So if my move is 930, well then first and foremost, backwards plan. What's your end goal? If your end goal is cash flow, that's going to be primarily different than if your end goal is to swing the entire daily candle, versus if you're trying to just, get in for 10 points, 20 points, 30 points, or you trying to just be out before noon. Like whatever that end goal is, that's where you start. So now if my end goal is, and I'll just use me as an example, if my end goal is just to take a breakout trade once it confirms in the direction towards statistics that are still left open and where the daily candle is, then that candle close and the other side of 930 are very important to me. But if you're just somebody that wants a cash flow move that is very consistent, like something like what Stan and Josh do, well, then the biggest thing here is where you're trying to be as static as possible. You need to know the ebbs and flows, the mean reversion of the times that it's very correct versus the times it's very wrong. You need to know the patterns of how often does it go through a max or a median loss streak of XYZ. Like if this move, not a loss streak as in a trade, but a loss streak as in if you're targeting just a 10 basis point movement, well then how often does that 10 basis movement fail? How often does a 20 basis movement fail? Are there any days of the week that are lead contributors for more consistent 10 basis point hits versus negative? Like,
for example, I didn't mean to cut you off, but absolutely I did. Like what he's talking about right now is, and I'm going to ask you a simple question, right? How do I know between 9:30 and 10 o'clock if it's going to be a DWTP versus a range 2, a DWP range 2, or a DMP range 1? What's the criteria?
How the 930, the move away from 930,
yes,
and how explosive it is.
So that's an example of what Austin is talking about. At that point, like we can say, hey, you know what? This is a point where I need to cover the queen, maybe at 10 basis point, or take a fourth off right here. But I'm trying to capture the whole daily range. Mm-hmm. We can also use distros and different things like that, right? That way you're not thinking linear, and you're sitting here like we all knew this morning what was happening, especially with the 3 o'clock low a day and a short false New York 1. We knew what was happening, but if you keep going at this from a linear approach, mechanical idea, you're sitting there with 26 handles while your buddy who did the actual assignment properly just grabbed the whole daily candle. All right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. Look, I mean, I'm not going to be married to this initial assessment of how I'm going to trade forever. That's my intention. My intention is...
I think what you do, you should be married to it for at least 6 months. This is the only thing you should focus on.
Yeah. I agree.
You become obsessed with
it. Being married, so this is actually a really good point that I think everyone needs to hear. A lot of you guys when you see Mick and I trade, or when you see Drez or any of the live traders trade, and they're explaining to you how they're managing risk, a lot of you guys forget that they're on like level 7 of their journeys. And so they've seen a move, like let's take Drez. Drez loves those 15-minute wicks and the midpoints. And I've even personally watched him, take just a simple level, and he's evolved that to where now he can do probably what he couldn't even do last year. And so what I mean by that is, and what I think Mickey's trying to say is, dude, get obsessed over just that 10 basis point move and be okay with the fact it's not perfect. Just like how anybody here, just be okay at like being super mediocre. And what you're going to find is when you accept that you're not going to be right out of the gate once you get your business plan, trying to get this whole daily move and blah, 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 you're just okay with enough. You're going to find that when you're accepting just this true mediocre performance, you're going to, the little signs of what it looks like to take an extended target, they're going to be obvious. The signs of being super weak where you're like, dude, I can't even, these are the common patterns I'm seeing. I can't even get 10 basis points because I'm so focused on it. And then the flip side, you're gonna be like, dude, I'm seeing such obvious signs on these specific types of days when we do this specific sequence of extended moves, and it's gonna slap you in the face. Like I know it sounds weird and cliche, but there's no other way that I can put it.
No, I completely get it.
You know what I mean?
And so, like, what I'll tell you,
I completely get it, and this is why I didn't want to build a complex presentation. I didn't want to build something with a load of data, a load of things in Notebook LM, just because everybody else has done it. And I told you guys that I don't want to just kind of toe the line because everybody else is doing it. I'm very, very honest about where I am. I always struggle with execution, and then it's kind of then holding a trade to a level that I'm comfortable with. And that's what I want to kind of use this to build.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is Austin's going to share a blank spreadsheet with you, right? And the first step that we want to get you to is just like with the daily profile, with the hourlies, the 05 boxes, I did the heavy lifting, pulled the data for all of you guys, like me and the dev teams and Austin and all of them. Right? We did the heavy lifting so we can make the day kind of clear up a little bit for you. Right? This is going to be a DWP. This is high day, low day. Here's the proof. Here's the live price element alignment. But now what you have to do, right, is you have to do the heavy lifting, which a lot of people, listen, you can DM a lot of people and they're going to give you the answers to this spreadsheet right here, right now. But that's not going to do you a favor. What I want you to do with this spreadsheet is I want you to collect the exact business plan, the MAE and the MFE of the move. And first start with that, right? And you're going to do in sample and out of sample, right? And then after that, right, then we're going to get fancy with it and figure out, does it make sense for us to just take full TP at 10 basis points? Does it make sense just to risk $300, right? When we can, how many attempts we're going to take of this trade, right? How we're going to like shuffle and portfolio cycle. So it's an evolution, right? Just like when I started, my buddy Chris is in here. Like when I started trading the 930, right? Like it was the breaker or the failure swing. And my job was to identify, right, where the 931 minute candle fell within that breaker or the failure swing sequence on a 1 minute candle. And then like I became super obsessed with that. And like people would say, hey, it was two high probability targets, so 2 fib extensions from the breaker. And I got super obsessed, right? That's why like you see remember I taught you the 930 trade strategy, the way I do it, and I had over 3,000 days worth of manual data collected on that. That's what super obsessed means, right? We're not even asking you for you to do that. We're just saying, hey, start right now with the breakout, because that's the one you choose to do, and collect the MA and MFE. And like it won't take you any time, right? And then you're going to see this range between, well, I won't even give you the answers because I want you to come back and confirm them with us, right? Because we all have the answers. Like I would say 60% of the people listening to this has the answers because they've already done this assignment, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to start right there. So before I move on, I do want to ask, when do you come back from your little trip? Like, you're going away, right?
Yeah, I'm away 15th to 25th. So I've already reached out to Austin, same time as I reached out to you, and we've already booked in a session for 28th.
Yeah. So, are you going to have a laptop?
Yeah, with me, yeah.
Okay, so this is perfect. Between now and then, your job is to stay as far out of the room as possible. Just go away, right? Like, don't come to listen to live trade sessions. Don't come to my reengineerings. Don't come to the classes in the morning. Your job is, and I'm going to pass it off to Austin so he can, like, appropriately brief the assignment, is to do this assignment, right? And then when we pick up on the 28th, we'll be able to pull the ahas that we had from that assignment and give you the next part of the exercise. So we can do this properly, right? Like, I can easily give you the metrics to success right now. And I've proven this in the 930 room that I did, right? I would live trade in front of them every day, show the same account over and over again. I'd show them exact steps. I would literally tell them the exact time of entry, live trading it all. And I would be profitable by the end of the day. Like, masking was there. Like, some of the other people were profitable, and then like part of them were not profitable. And I'm like, I literally just called it right in front of you. How are you not profitable? And like, that's when I learned that they hadn't had the aha moment because they didn't put the work in themselves. And this is where you're going to put the work in yourself. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Austin, and he's going to give you the final instructions.
Thank you.
Because believe it or not, the 930 is all you need. Right? You don't
I can see that. I can see that. It's how I use it that matters.
Yep. All right, Austin. Welcome to the instructions.
All right. So are you sitting down, Stacks? Because this is going to be very elaborate. All right.
I'm pretty much half laying down right now.
Okay. I hope you've eaten a lot of carbs today, because you're going to need a lot of energy for this. Can I share my screen, Nick?
Yeah.
All right. So this is the same thing I had Twist do. Twist is in here. Okay. So Twist can literally tell me if I'm full of crap and it didn't help him, or if it actually did help him. So Twist came to me and kind of had kind of the same thing that Jihan, and I think I talked to either Jeff or Dave, or maybe it was both of you guys. But I talked to one other person about the 930 thing, and one of the common things I would constantly see people say, man, I'm struggling with adapting my target to the daily candle, right? Like, it's easy just to blindly say, hey, I want to put a TP at 10 basis points and call it a day. That's an easy move. But what about the days that you're actually maximizing the DMP, DWP days and letting that be the lion's share of your performance, and then the cash flow days fill in the gaps, of in between. So I gave this to him, and this is just phase one. This is just like the first portion of it. And all I need you to do is, here's an example, and I'm gonna give this to Stacks, is you go back and you're gonna do Twist. Did I give you 2 quarters? Was it 2 quarters? I think I told Twist to do. Just do 2 quarters. All right, and you can do any 2 quarters you want. It could be a bullish market, or three quarters. I'm sorry. So
No. You only gave Twist 3 because he's a meathead. I'm just kidding.
Twist could have been your friend and said, yeah, too. So he.
But I don't care. Twist is ready to say 20 right now. I know that for a fact.
So we're going to do this. We're going to meet in the middle, because I think, Twist, I had you do this after the 3. So you're going to do 3 quarters of in sample. All right. Actually, no. Let's make it even. Let's make it even so it's not super complex. You're going to do 2 in sample. Oh, we lost Stacks here. Okay. You do 2 quarters of in sample, so back to back. Like, let's say you chose 2019 back to back quarters, right? So Q1, Q2, whatever, and then you're going to do 2 quarters of out of sample. And in those 2 out of sample quarters, they're going to be different. So those are going to be different. The in sample, does that make sense? They're going to be sequential.
Yeah.
And then the 2 out of samples are going to be different. So you could do a quarter in a bull market, a quarter in a bear market, be a quarter in a high volatility market, quarter that included low volatility and whatever you want. Be creative. This is where you
Am I referencing the volatility against the VIX or just price action?
No, like, listen, like, you've been trained on that. You answered it. What ticker do we measure volatility with?
VVIX.
All right, there you go. And that's for you to solve, right? Remember, we're trying to drill a contract in your brain.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're saying, I am going to do this. So, like, there you go.
Okay, so when you get your in sample and out of sample dates, okay, you're then just going to do this right here. You're going to record each sample. You're going to do Monday through Friday. So, like, what day of the week is it? Boom. Let's just say today's Monday. And I think the first attempt hit today, right? So if I were to record today, it would be the MFE. Now, this is where I tell everybody, when you're recording MFE, one of the most important things that you want to do is, if you want to see the realistic MFE of your move, you got to cap it at some degree, right? If you're just including the MFE of every single move, you're going to have the outliers be pulling up falsely that average and median. So if I only care about a 0.5% move, if anything outside of 0.5%, I'm still in, like, that's a crazy runner. Most of the time, I'm out of a position by a 0.5% price movement. So I only want to care about that area that really makes sense to me and aligns with my level of risk. So if any of these movements go beyond 0.5%, I'm just going to put 0.5%. So today, obviously, I think we moved beyond 0.5%. Once we broke above 930 on the 1 minute, and then we would just lock that in. MAE, it was very little MAE. Let's just say it was like 0.02%. It was very low. And then you're just going to put yes or no. That's it. If it hit 0.05% before hitting the other side, you're going to put yes. Did it hit 0.1% before hitting the other side? Yes. Did it hit 0.25% before hitting the other side? Yes. That's it. And then if there was no other attempts, you'll just clear these out and leave them blank and move on to the next day. Next day, too, let's say we broke out to the upside. We only moved 10 basis points, and it came back to the other side, and it was 0.25. So then it hit 0.05%. It hit 10 basis points, but it did not. So because it did not hit 0.25, you're then going to give it a second attempt until it either hits all of these or you max out at 3 attempts. Make sense?
What is my second attempt? Re-entry when it gets stopped out?
It'll be the next 1 minute break.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Yep. So like, if it does hit 0.25%, then you're done. If it fails to hit this, even this, if it fails to do 0.1, you're going to move on to the second attempt until you either get all 3 hits or you ran out of attempts because you're only doing 3 a day.
So every attempt has to be a 1 minute breakout.
Yes. Now that doesn't have to be your entry process. Remember, I'm having you not back test a strategy. You're not back testing a way of trading. You are back testing a specific move, and you're measuring the baseline accuracy of that move.
Okay.
And that is your job until the 28th. Pretty freaking simple, huh?
And I won't say that, but I probably will anyway. It's fine.
And I'll put this in the support ticket so we can keep the communication easy.
Yeah.
So that way, Mick or Pocket wants to reply as well or whatever, we can just be like a little group chat.
Cool.
All right, man. Yeah, and that's what you're gonna do, and then we'll go to the next step, right? And listen, like, you can see in the chat, like, there's been a lot of people that had to go through do this exercise. I think Vlad was one that kind of showed up and did the same thing that you did. Like, listen, I don't know. I see, like, I don't know, right? And now he's trading good, and I'm proud of you for coming up and telling me honestly where you're at, right? Because I don't need.
Listen, if I'm not going to be honest with myself, what benefit is that going to be for anything? I'd rather just join a signal service then. And as I told you, I'm as real as it gets. I might act like an arrogant asshole in the chat, but I'm as real as it gets, and it's time to get real. 2026, that's it.
All right, man. Because listen, like, I'm telling you, you and Twist came from the same community, right? Stan and Josh, like, all these people came from that same community where they abused power, right? Like, the individual who ran that community used you guys to collect data. So I understand if you guys are burnt out from that. We don't need your data. Like, I don't need your data. Like, this is for you, right? Like, and it's not that much data. And like Twist is, what number payout are you on now since like November? He's on like 4 or 5, right? So it's like, dude, like you're seeing the people that put the work in. 6. He's on 6 payouts, right? He's literally done with his job tomorrow. Congratulations. And this is his livelihood, right? So, but like do not let, like, do the same work, right? If you're just lost and confused, do the same work, right? But like, we can't give you the answers, because then what good does that do for you,
Yeah, I get it.
right?
And I'm not asking for them. I just need to know what work I need to do, and I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you just got the first step, and we look forward to hearing you on the 28th, man. Enjoy your trip.
Cool. Thank you, guys. God bless you, man.
All right, brother.
Have fun.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Since like you guys can go back and watch the the live trade session today, the breakdown, all that stuff is the same thing we do every single day. You guys know how to do your journaling. Austin can share screen. I'll go on and do candle science, and then we will call it, and we will eat dinner. All right. Oh shit! I forgot to tell him. I forgot. Somebody said cooking today, and I was like, stop saying that. All right, so today for candle science, where's Mello? Where is he at? He's not even in here. Let me DM him real quick. What's his name? Dirty Brown. No. Bello. Brown, Strat King. Damn it. Nice, let's go. All right. So, Drez, are you listening? All right. You got time to view the screen? All right. So, a lot of you guys are overcomplexing candle science, right? And remember, these statistical tools and dashboards are just they're a training tool. They're training wheels, right? You should be doing them until you don't need them anymore, right? But they're just to show you where the decision points are, right? The decision points, right? So, man, Holly, you can call. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You actually sound 10 times better now. I don't know what you switched to, but
shoot,
you're
damn
like whispering in my ear, bro.
1 minute. I got my headphones just died. What about now?
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm gonna come in a little bit late because I'm using the computer monitor. All right, and Mello is not here yet, so
yeah, Chad, this is better. You sound a lot crisper.
Oh man, that's embarrassing. All right, so this morning we knew since Friday at 1600, right? These were the stats, right? We knew that the day, right? The previous day high had a 65% probability, and the previous day low had a 56. And what was unique about today was that the spread wasn't that big. Most days you see a bigger spread between, so 65 minus 56 is like 9, right? Usually it's about 30 to 40, right? And then one will have above 80 probability. So we pay attention to that, right? We knew that we had a 65% probability to take out previous day high versus 56. So we were like, hey, this is one of those situations where we got to let the live price prove it to us. We got to let Asia, London, and even the 930 prove to us, because it could go either way because the spread was so low, right? We knew that this was the highest probable. Give me 1 second. I need to fix this. All right. That's throwing me off. My bad. All right. So we knew that this was the 30th percentile, 50 and 70, the highest possible area they go to if we took out the high, and this was it for the low, right? We knew that that's what that was all about, right? And we knew that there's an 87% probability that we would not close above the high. All right. So now we're going to shift to the right, and we're going to do everything all over again. right? And we're not going to overcomplex this just because there's a lot of buttons, right? Right? Remember, you don't need the less clicks, the better, but they have to be the right clicks, right? So we know that we're going to choose NASDAQ. We can choose any of these if you trade any of the other ones, right? We're going to do the daily time frame. What you should have learned, and for you guys who weren't around for this boot camp and you did one of the earlier ones, like this next class, I'm going to encourage you to do the spreadsheet exercise so you can see the aha moment that we pulled this class, right? So we know we're going to choose the daily candle. We know that it's pretty much the same on the hour, the 3 hour, whatever, right? And we're going to take only 3 candles. The further back we go, right, we choose 6 candles. We know that we're going to be like out of probabilities by the time we get to that candle number 3, right? So we do, because it's on the daily, which has 373. So 3,773 candles versus, the hour, which has over 18,000 candles, right? 18,000 hourly samples, right? Whenever it wants to load. And I broke it. Give me a second. Of course, Murphy's laws kick in, and Murphy's laws kick in, and all right, we're just going to close out all together. Stop.
I am.
You can hear it.
I'm just adjusting it.
All right.
I know they can hear it too.
All right. So now, let's see if it'll work now. Candle science is breaking on me. There we go. So, okay, I was wrong. So on the hourly, we'll 7,000 hourly candles, right? So that's why you want to be aware of it. So I would be okay to go back 6 candles if I wanted to, right? So we're aware of that. And plus, you don't need more than 3 candle look back, right? So based off of what Friday did and what today did, will determine the probabilities of this. So we know that Friday was green, and that's all we need to put. That it was a green candle. And then we knew the past settlement. Yeah. We knew that today would say is a red candle. Right? And then all we have to do is say, hey, did we take out the high or did we take out the low? So we took out the high. All right, that's all we're going to click. Damn it, I keep going the wrong one. So we took out the high. And so now, right, we know that candle 1 was like this, candle 2 was red. And if you want to get fancy with it, you can, but you don't need to put where it is closed at. Like, this is when I get fancy with it, right? If we close above the previous day high or we close below the previous day high, that's when I get fancy with it. That's the only time I get fancy with it, right? So let me reset this. Something's off. All right. And this was red. All right, so we can see that just right out the gate, right? Today's previous day high has only a 33 probability of getting a hit, and the low has a 67, right? The low has a 67, right? So now we just need to do one verification, right? And that's the opening price. And since today is going to be a doji, right? The opening price can get hit exactly at 1,800 or during the gap up. So we're aware of that. Like if this was a beefy candle like this on this day, or last, what am I trying to say? Like on this day, where you open down here and the previous day opening price is up there, the if-then statement requires you to have time throughout the day, right? On this day, either way, like just now we're going to see how, if we reach the opening price, how does that affect that probability of a 33% to take out the high, and a 67 to take out the low, right? So we're going to come, and since it was a red one, we're going to say, hey, we went below the opening price, right? And we're going to see that it adds probabilities to the lower day, right? All right, so now that's all we have to select, right? All we have to select is, what was the first day? Was it green or red? Second day, did it take out the high or the low of the first day? And then what is the probabilities? And what color was C2, right? What was the color of the candle, right? And then the last thing we have to check is, if we breach yesterday's opening price, how does that affect the probabilities? And you'll see that's the reversal point. So we know now, if we breach the mid of that time fractal, that's the alert. We breach the opening, that's where the probabilities completely shift, right? And then we come over here, and if we know that the low is the higher probability low, then the high to get taken out, we just click on this little box right here, and now we can get a percentile MFE, right? So the green dotted lines, because it's the low, represent coming down into the daily candle footprint, or from the low, right? So we don't need that because I don't want to confuse you guys, right? But these red little dots is, we know that out of 3,773 days or whatever it is, that this candle sequence that we currently are seeing for tomorrow has happened 553 times, right? That's a good picture of me, right? 553 times. So those 553 red little dots right here, right? And so out of that 553 dots, this yellow line, what says C2 low, representing the day's low, right? Now we can see that 30% of that 553 went this far low, off of that low, right? 0.32. 50% of that 553 went to 0.67. 70% of them went to 104. So you can start seeing that your mode, you can start seeing where your anomalies are spreading out. You can see where your extreme is, but you can see what majority of your data is right here, right? So you're aware of that as we take out that low that's a high probability low, or the high if it was a high probability high, right? So that's all that's telling you, right? So remember, right? So let's re-engineer today's, right? So let's pretend like today hasn't happened, right? We're going to take Thursday and Friday, right? Thursday and Friday. So Thursday was red, Friday's green, right? So we said red, green, and then we know that Friday closed above previous day high right here, right? So you just click on it. Closed above previous day high, right? Boom. Right? I don't have to take out the high because it automatically does select the close, right? And we can see that there's an 82% probability, at this point that we're going to take out Friday's high today, right? Versus an 11% that we're going to take out the low. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. What's the last step that I have to do? Not MFE or MA. What's the last thing I have to check? Anybody answer it in the chart? The opening price. So I need to test the opening price, right? If we touch the previous day opening price right here, how does that affect the probabilities? Right? Because right now, this has a higher probability. No matter what we did, I would have went long, right? And we can see, right? If we touch the Friday's opening price, the previous day low jumped up to 56, and the previous day high dropped down to 65. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. Before that, the spread between the low day probability and the high was over 60, 70 points, right? But if we open, yes, I know. My daughter just said 6, 7. She's grounded now. Just kidding. All right, but now that the open was violated, now we can see that spread completely dropped to 9, right? So now we have to be a little bit more cautious, and we can't just arrogantly, like just buy the dips every time, right? All right, so Dres, did that help? Like the sequence, just the colors of the last 2 days, did you take out the high or low? And then what happens, what probabilities of this day's high and low is, and then how do those probabilities shift on the opening price? Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm trying to get off of Chrome altogether. Like, I'm trying to get over to Edge. So today, we know that like once the opening price is going to be very, very close. Now we're green, so let's do it. Green until we get the overnight. So reset, bullish, and we took out previous day high. Right? There's a 77% chance unless we touch the opening price, and then that 77 drops to 59, and now the lower day has a higher probability. If we can't do that, look at the spread difference. It's almost a 50% spread between the high day and the low of the day, right? The opening price, which means we're going to be paying attention to the previous day mid, and now we're getting 3-hour lines down ahead in there, right? Like, because we know the probability. And the same thing exists on the hourly. The same thing exists on the 3 hours. That's why I want you guys to put the work in, do the small little exercise so you can see it. So now, for the people who did the exercise, like I'll ask you a question. If we have a probability like this, a 63, that the lows getting taken out, what do we automatically know no matter what time frame we're on? What do we not like to do when we take out the lows? Close below them, right? So no matter what time frame, we know that we can get below the low. That's why the reversals on red candles are very, very important to identify, because more than likely we're going to close above, right? We do not like closing, no matter what sequence you do, right? We do not like closing below that fractal's low, right? All right, what's the question?
Cap, when you were doing your wargaming one morning this week or last week, you actually mentioned this point about the previous day mid. Could you just go over that again? Because you changed probabilities because of that.
It's the same thing. I don't have the indicator loaded up right. When I was showing you the liquidity sweeps or the raids or whatever we're talking, they're taking out the highest and the hour, the 3 hour, even the previous day, the 12-hour, whatever. Right? Remember I showed you the data that said, and we do it every day on the hour, right? So we take out high, and what makes it a sweeper is that midpoint, right? Right. So that midpoint is the alert that we're going to go to the open, and then we're going to go to the other side, right? That probabilities are completely crumbling no matter what time frame, whether it's the hour, 3 hour, 12-hour, daily, weekly, monthly, like. So that's what I'm talking about. That's why we use the previous hour mid so much, because like you're training your brain to think if then conditions, footprint rejection right here. Could we touch the previous day mid? Nope. So we need to buy all dips, right? Like, because that's the alert. Everything's an action, an alert, and a confirmation that an if-then statement will happen. The alert is the mid of that time frame.
Yeah, I remember exactly what you said, but because you were looking at candle sites and you said it, there was no reference to the chart.
But I completely
get it. When you were mentioning that point, you were actually looking at candle signs, and I thought that there was something
There's the
same. Yeah.
I need to get this fixed, man. I don't know what's going on with it. It's sweepers. Like we call them sweepers or raids or whatever, taking out the hourly highs, 4 hours, 3 hours, doesn't matter.
Thanks.
And I taught that during the 05 box class. So it was like one of the first classes that you guys learned.
No, I got it. I get that logic, but I thought you were looking for something like a button to press on candle signs, and I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything.
Will you get an update for candle signs to just input candles? Right now, they're working on. right? Where you're just going to come over to Candle Science. Number one, Candle Science and Daily Profile is all getting automated through a broker or through live data. So what will happen is, well, it's not set up here. It's on my other one. Like this will automatically be set up based off the price action. So all you have to do is select the time frame, and then there'll be a copy paste here, and you're going to paste it into the indicator, and it's just going to stay on your trading view. So yeah, that's going to be done. All right, gents and ladies, it's 5:06, and I'm not skipping dinner. So that's it. Later, haters. Austin, you want to shut her down?
Yes, sir. Final announcement before we end it. All right, so we officially have kind of started a warm little partnership with Tradecopia. So just put the instructions there in the Reengineering chat. If you guys want to try them out, or if you haven't heard of them, you guys know I have never done like actual serious affiliate deals or endorsements. This is the first major thing we've kind of done where it's like, hey, we align with a product out there in the trading space. I personally have been using Tradecopia now since like November-ish, October to November-ish, somewhere around there. It's super simple trade copying system. It's like a breath of fresh air to actually have a piece of technology in the trading space that doesn't look like a spaceship, or it doesn't look like it's from 1997. So really easy trade copying software, and you get analytics and stuff and feedback and all that, and it's super affordable. It's $50, and you get a discount code with Pack Trade Group. So if you want to do it, and then we're also planning on negotiating down the line anybody that uses our specific code, because we can track and see everybody that uses their code and is actively using. Seeing if we can do some benefit or do like some fun giveaways or some events and stuff like that. So just want to take care of anybody that does all that. But yeah, so there's the first official plug if you guys want to use it. Discount code.
It's not really an affiliate. It's just like we're trying to see if we work well together, because it'll become more of a partnership where they bring their products over to our software.
100%. Austin, what's the discount? What is the code? What does the code give us?
It's a discount, and honestly, that's a good question. I probably should know that, right? Let me ask him, and I'll
I think because I already had somebody use it, it looked like it was 5%, but I couldn't tell for sure, and I didn't see the final.
It's usually $400, and now it's like, I don't know. I'm just kidding. You guys got to learn how to close it up.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually don't know the amount, but this is why I also like am really happy to stand by them. Is it's already stupid affordable. A lot of trade copying softwares, you got to pay either by account or by every few accounts. This is just a one-time, like you pay a flat fee, you can have unlimited accounts. And so for people like
keep in line with that, you can have like 3 VPSs like doing stuff, and you can have it on each one of those. There's normally a copier, you have like only one login kind of thing. So yeah, it's quite a good value overall.
Yeah, it's just super easy, and you can build different portfolios, different sets of copy trading. So if you do want to switch between, or you like to diversify, it's just really easy and simple platform.
Yeah, just need to make sure it's up to date.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if somebody can let us know, somebody use the code, because I can't do it because I'm already using them. So Stacks, if you want to let us know and just put it in the pack chat so we can all see it, and just tell us what the deal is. I really don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm already signed up, but I think I'm on a monthly at the moment, so I'll see what it offers and I'll post it up.
Oh, okay, no worries, man.
Cool.
Minus 15. Oh, okay, there you go. $15 off. So you can literally get the Pro that gives you all the features, and it's actually going to be a little bit cheaper than the basic. So there you go.
I just wanted to say too, never, ever. Okay, I'll pass it to us.
All right, guys, y'all stay grinding your goals, and never, ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something they've never done themselves. And I'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.
All right, peace.